Well, good morning, Portugal. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show. How are you this morning? It's Thursday and, of course, Places and Spaces Day when we have a little wander about virtually, of course, Portugal. And my special guest this morning live from Lisbon is Stephen O'Regan, who's been doing an amazing project, People of Lisbon. So we'll be having a chat with him in just a moment. And then after that, we're going to go to Braga. Braga recently voted best European destination to visit in 2021, which is a little bit odd because you can't, but it got that award anyway. Couple of hellos coming in already. We got Hank from a secret underground bunker in an undisclosed location somewhere on the west coast of the United States. Best place to be, probably. Good morning to you, Hank. Bon dia to you. And from Moscow, Caroline's there. Bon dia to you. Bon dia, alegria. And North Wales, just very quickly, a few hellos. Where's everyone else this morning? Hola, bon dia from a lovely, calm and sunny and bright North Wales this morning. That's excellent news. So let's bring Stephen on. Good morning to you, Stephen. How are you? Hello? Stephen's looking really cool on his sofa, but he doesn't seem to be able to hear me at the moment.
Good morning. Is the connection okay?
Oh, there you are. Well, it is now. I can hear you now.
I can hear you. Can you... Connection, yeah, the connection seems the pre-conversation was great, but all of a sudden the connection's gone choppy.
Okay, it's a bit iffy, it's a bit dodgy this morning. Okay, well, maybe it will settle down, Stephen. Let's start by asking you all about this project, People of Lisbon. Let's see if things settle down while you're answering that first question. Well, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Let me see. I'm going to have a little route around. Let's have a little fiddle with a cable here and see if this improves anything.
No, it doesn't seem great. It doesn't seem great. I'm worried.
Let's not be worried. Let's
Should I refresh?
What's a great question? I've never been asked that before. But let's try that now. Stephen O'Regan, good morning to you. I'm so delighted you could be here to talk about People of Lisbon. Are you able to do that now technologically? Hey, look, this is a great suggestion from Pete Wilton Davis. Use the filler video. So that's we will actually, Pete. That's a really good idea. Some executive production from Pete Wilton Davis there. Let's roll that, and we'll come back. We'll see if we've got a better connection with Stephen after this. Okay, let's see if that's any better now. Stephen, are you there in Lisbon, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm worried that it's my side right now. I do find that in Lisbon. Say again.
I can hear you just fine now.
Oh, okay. I find that in Lisbon, the internet gets choppy at different parts of the day. Don't you find that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I imagine all the kids are just starting school virtually now, aren't they? And that's probably not going to help you very much. But let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can proceed. I imagine there is a real spike at 9 o'clock with people logging on for work and school, and then the same in the evenings when everyone kicks back and starts to watch Netflix. There's probably a bit of a surge as well. Are you hearing me okay now?
Or people desperately trying to tune into this live feed.
Well, of course, naturally. And they've probably heard about you being with us this morning. The man, originally, I mean, we had a lovely little chat about this before we started. you said one of your earlier projects was Balcony TV, and I'm thinking, hold on, I know that because I used to live in Exeter, and I think one of your shows was from Exeter. But you are behind the legendary Balcony TV, right? 20,000 shows around the world from different balconies, different venues.
Well, I mean, legendary, infamous. It was a funny project. In 2006, I had this crazy idea of filming an internet show from my apartment balcony in Dublin. It came out of a hangover. So one day I had a huge hangover, and I went out to my balcony in Dublin to get some fresh air, gather myself. And then I realized we had a great view of Dublin city centre. So I came back into my flatmates and I jokingly said to them, we should do something funny on our balcony because we never go out into our balcony. And we just had the idea of Balcony TV, whereby every day we do an internet show from our balcony. And the next day we just started doing it. So we would invite local artists up to play songs on the balcony. My flatmate would present the show. I'd film the show on my little camera. Next thing you know, we started getting contacted by bands from all over Ireland that wanted to play in the show. And then it kind of took on a life of its own, and people around the world started watching Balcony TV. And then they started contacting me saying, wow, Balcony TV is a great way of showcasing like local talent. We really need a Balcony TV here in Rome or Tokyo. And so over the next 12 years, we launched Balcony TV in 100 cities. We ended up filming 20,000 shows. And yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I was then dropped into, I went from being kind of a wannabe filmmaker into suddenly I was put into startup land, because as we started getting a little bit of attention, I started getting invited onto radio shows or newspaper interviews. And the interviews would all be fun until the last question, which always was, but how do you make any money out of this? And I was like, what? Do I have to be making money out of this? This was just a fun project. So then I started thinking, God, maybe you have to be making money out of stuff in order to justify things in this world, you know? So that became the stress and the ordeal for the next 12 years. And so there were lots of fun parts about it. But it was hard work at the same time. I guess
it is fantastic that you were able to retire as a billionaire from Balcony TV and then end up in Lisbon.
Yeah, I mean, I wish. I'm living in a glorified hostel right now, to be perfectly honest. The funny thing was, it was actually taken over in the end by Sony Music. And the takeover wasn't one of those situations that you were suggesting. It wasn't one of those get rich moments. But we nevertheless had to put out some publicity that we were taken over by Sony Music. And when you put out a press release saying, "Oh, Balcony TV has been taken over by," people automatically assume that, oh, they must have been bought out for millions, So I'm sure people to this day still think that I'm living in some castle somewhere, but I'm not.
However hard you tried to hide it, Stephen, but you find yourself in Lisbon now, of course. How did that happen, if I may ask?
Well, this time last year I was living in New York, where I lived for most of the last decade, I guess. I went to New York once we did actually raise investment for Balcony TV. And so I was working there for a number of years doing that. And so this time last year I was in New York and the pandemic hit. And at that point, there was kind of an encouragement that you should go back to your home country. Like the Americans were like, yeah, go home. And the Irish were like, come home. So I went back to Dublin. I went back to Dublin at the beginning of April, and I spent 2.5 months in Dublin. And then at that point, things, when it got to the summertime last year, it did feel like things were maybe going to return to some kind of normality. And so I thought that, should I go back to New York? At that stage, Black Lives Matter had kicked off, and things were getting really hairy in New York. And then I thought, well, I stay here in Dublin. And then I thought, well, then I'll probably have to rent my own place. And prices in Dublin's the most expensive place to live in the world right now. And at that moment, the main country that was open in Europe was Portugal, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go and ride out the storm in Lisbon. And very spontaneously, I booked a flight to Lisbon on the 15th of June, not really knowing what the future had in store, but I came here and I've been here ever since.
What a fabulous story. Louise loving it already. Loving the story of Balcony TV, she says. And one of your fans is here as well, our head gardener, actually, in another capacity here, Lee McGrady. Mr. McGrady says, good morning. I've been following Stephen's videos on Facebook for some time. Really worth the look, he says. So Facebook and YouTube, People of Lisbon. How did that get started, Stephen?
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Say what was the question? Well, I was just bewildered by that high praise. What was the question?
How did People of Lisbon get started?
Yeah, so I got to Lisbon mid-June last year, and after just 2 or 3 weeks, I thought I should just start doing a project just to have something to do, I guess. And video, I guess, is what I do now, just making videos. So I like making videos. And the title People of Lisbon just popped into my head, and it was just such a simple title, and it kind of does what it says in the tin. It kind of it summed it up perfectly, and I just thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Just go with that, So my idea was very simple, that I would try and make a weekly video about a different personality in Lisbon. And at the very beginning, I met this photographer here in Lisbon. She's a Latvian photographer called Rita Ansone, fantastic photographer if anyone's looking for a great photographer in the Lisbon area or beyond. And I said, well, it'd be great if you take photographs of the people that I make videos about. So I guess some people have likened it to this project in New York called Humans of New York, but it's not Humans of New York, it's People of Lisbon. And well, I guess Humans of New York has got a more of a photographic edge to it. This would be more video centric, but we got the photographs as well. So it's the whole package,
Amazing.
So we just started doing it, and we've been pretty consistent doing it ever since.
Superb. And I want to ask you, you're probably not allowed to say, but who are your favorites among the people you've interviewed? I mean, that's not to make anybody else lesser, but who are the ones who are outstanding in your mind and the real characters of Lisbon? Because I'm guessing that's what it's about, the real, the really special people of Lisbon.
Well, at the very beginning, my idea was I really wanted to do videos about very much the real people of Lisbon. And, I wanted to do videos about maybe like a tram driver, or I don't know, maybe somebody sweeping the street. It turns out finding real people is the hardest thing. So a lot of our videos have been about, artists. There's a lot of artists in Lisbon. There's a lot of life coaches I've noticed in Lisbon. A lot of life coaches. A lot. There's a lot of yoga instructors.
Yes.
And that's not to upset any people who are life coaches or yoga instructors watching right now. We still are interested in life coaches and yoga instructors, but we've tried to mix it up. We've tried to find interesting people under those circumstances. The second video we did was with a guy called Telmo Rodriguez. He was a person that sells cakes on the beach here in Costa Caparica, I think it was, Praia do Rei. And so he goes around on the beach with a big box on his head, and he sells these cakes called Bolo de Berlin. Are you familiar with these?
Oh, yes, I am. Lovely with a bit of sand on as well.
Yeah, right. So, I didn't know this tradition, but apparently this is a long time tradition here in Portugal, in Lisbon, where they sell these cakes on the beach. And it's strange because on the day we went to film it, it was scorching hot. So there I was with the camera, scorching hot, and there was this guy selling these cakes, and I was very interested to see what these cakes were going to look like. But as far as I could see, they were just large donuts infused with like chocolate or some kind of cream. so they're really heavy, you know, and it didn't. They don't really seem like the thing you should be selling on the beach because
There he
you know
is.
it's really hot. But they're actually gorgeous, and now I've got an addiction to them. To be, you know, if I see them in a shop, I'm like, give me one of those, you know.
I can
So anyway, we
understand.
followed this character around the beach. This guy Telma Rodriguez, and he was a movie unto himself. He was off the charts, a wild character, a proper real character. Um, and so and that video came out very nice. I must admit, like that was one of our early videos, so I wasn't quite sure about what it was what way the project was going to look or how the videos were going to look and feel. But I think still to this day that's one of my favorite videos. And then actually now you're forcing me to quickly look at the channel to see the videos.
Well,
Yeah,
I
so
did agree as well.
with everybody that we do, you know, you try and find the character in the people, and you try and find the, you know, the funny moments with the people to bring out their personality. Another video that comes to mind is we found this guy here in Lisbon who's a plane spotter.
Yes, I want to ask you about him. He's not very busy at the moment, is he?
He is very busy, actually. His name is Aaron Van Collie. Yeah, it's there in the center of the screen. And you know, I said, "Are you doing this anytime soon?" And he said, "Yeah, actually. Well, tomorrow I'm going to go and take photographs." So we went with him to the airport here in Lisbon, and there was this kind of side area up a little hill, and yeah, I made a video about him as he took photographs of planes taking off and landing, and it was quite fascinating. He told me that you know, if ever you're landing into an airport, you should wave out the window because there's always plane spotters in every airport doing what he does. And he was completely addicted to this hobby. And it's always nice to find somebody who's got a really slightly different hobby, something a little bit different. He's taken tens of thousands of photographs of. Actually, he might be interesting. Well, I don't know if he'd be interested. Well, I don't know, but yeah, book him. But yeah, he's taken tens of thousands of photographs of airplanes taking off and landing, and it was interesting being with him because there was various different types of airplanes that were coming in and out. And yeah, he's got his own Instagram page with a huge following, and you know, it's an interesting subculture.
You just never know. You just never know, do you? So, are you still looking for the tram driver or the road sweeper? I mean, how do people put themselves forward, or is it down to you to go and find them? You and your photographer.
Well, at the beginning, yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of word of mouth. I went onto Facebook groups, and I really utilize Facebook groups in terms of just spreading the word. So I've kind of got into a daily routine of, you know, spending a certain amount of time on Facebook, spending a certain amount of time on Twitter, Instagram. And then, you know, now we get contacted by people who are interested in being on the show. So our challenge is trying to find, you know, more interesting people. But it has become slightly journalistic in that, again, to find interesting people, you have to kind of push yourself a bit further to try and discover these people, because not everybody in this world showcases themselves on video or online. So the real people who are doing real things, you probably are finding are living real lives and don't have the time for this nonsense. So I think that will be a more of a challenge even going forward if we want to avoid doing the same type of people all the time, you know.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at there, and I'm, you know, guilty as charged in a way. There are a lot of self-publicists, and the world of, you know, being a YouTube influencer and Instagram is very much about putting yourself forward. And the real characters of the world might get lost in that, mightn't they? They might be the needles in that haystack of self-promotion and self-publicity in the times we live in. But I'm guessing in Lisbon, you have access to some, I mean, not just people who've come into Lisbon, but there are still, as I walk around Lisbon when I lived there, and on your side of the river there at Caparica, fascinating place where there are still real people knocking about, but you have to have a bit of a delve, don't you?
Yeah, well, so I'm actually living right in the center of Lisbon. I'm not over the other side. I'm right above a Zara shop as I look out the window. So yeah, I'm right next to the I'm right next to the main square there. When I came to Lisbon initially, I actually stayed in a hostel for 3 months, and because there was just I have been to Lisbon before, just 2 or 3 times, but only for a short amount of days. And on one of my previous trips, I found myself staying in this super cool hostel, this amazing hostel, which was called Home, and it's the design of the place and the atmosphere of the place is just wonderful. And there's other people there, so it's got this great atmosphere, and it's run by a family who have these amazing dinners in the evening time. So I'd stayed there before, and so before I came to Lisbon, I messaged this hostel and I said, "Are you guys open?" And they said, "Well, we're closed now because of the pandemic, but we're probably going to open on the 1st of July." And I said, "Well, I'm thinking about coming on the 15th of June. Is there any chance you could do me a special deal on a room to myself?" And they said yeah, essentially. So they gave me an amazing deal on a room for a month. So I arrived in Lisbon. Things were a little bit quiet at that time. I was the only person staying in this hostel. I'm hearing myself back a little bit. And but very quickly the hostel started filling up with different kind of digital nomads.
Oh yes.
And it became a bit of a Big Brother like experience, shall I say. it became a little bit intense, you know. There were so right at the beginning I met people, and I met interesting people, and I met kind of interesting floating people who were coming, and also in my situation of like riding out the storm. And you know, I immediately met the yoga instructors that I'm talking about, and the life coaches, and the digital marketeers and stuff, to go with all the drama that went with, you know, living in this hostile environment. But yeah, I mean, I guess I quickly picked up on the fact that in Lisbon, it's tricky enough to find people that are from Lisbon, living in Lisbon, certainly in the center of Lisbon.
Yeah.
And that's why on our videos, I'd say 40% of our videos are people from Portugal, at least, living in Lisbon. But it's just what happens. You just meet people. They're from all over the world living here.
You're going with that flow. Stephen, it's been amazing talking to you this morning. Great project. And maybe, I don't know, you might be pitching that idea to a TV company about the intense hostel in Lisbon, full of life coaches, yoga teachers, and digital nomads. I don't know. I'd watch that, I think.
Yeah, well, I did say many times when I was there, I said, this is a book, this is a Netflix series, this is a movie, you know.
Great. I'm looking forward to seeing you starring in that. Who's going to play you, do you think?
Brad Pitt, I presume.
Naturally. Stephen, it's been great chatting with you. People can find out more about you on Facebook. You just got to look for People of Lisbon, really, and you'll find it right there.
Look for People of Lisbon, and if anybody knows anybody interesting, they're more than welcome to drop us a line if they think they are suitable, or they know anybody suitable for this project. You know, and we're open to all different types of people. So yeah, drop me a line. You can just email me, actually, Stephen@peopleoflisbon.com.
There you go. Congratulations on your project, Stephen. Lots of thumbs up from California, from Hank's Delicacies. One final question, and this is Places and Spaces of Portugal. You live in the capital, obviously. What's the first thing you want to do? What will be an iconic experience for you when the lockdown is finally lifted? What are you looking forward to doing, apart from stuffing your face with a bola de billy on Caparica Beach?
Well, actually, I live right above one of those one of those kind of like pastry coffee shop places, and I'm sure you've heard that they're not allowed to serve coffee here anymore. Yeah. So the coffee shops are not able to serve coffee, but they are able to serve these cakes, which is weird. I feel really I was thinking about making a documentary about these coffee shops that are not able to serve coffee but are able to serve cakes. Yeah. It's a very sad picture, I think. But so yeah, I've got no problem getting the cakes. My favorite thing to do in Lisbon's like a bit of a labyrinth, a bit of a maze. So the best thing to do in Lisbon, like in a lot of other cities, in fairness, is just to get lost in that maze and then trying to figure out your way home, you know?
Yeah. Been great to talk to you, Stephen. Take care, mate.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the show.
Thank you very much indeed. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Logo. So there you go, Stephen, People of Lisbon. You can see that on Facebook, and probably best way to do it is to binge on let me just bring that up again. Binge on YouTube. Again, youtube.com/People of Lisbon, and you'll see there, look, a lovely collection of people. The Plane Spotter, no doubt, a couple of life coaches, yoga teachers, as you were saying, journalist in Lisbon as well, sound therapy, so fascinating people, fascinating subjects, street photographer, the Bola de Billing. And I saw that there was a lot of love, as a ripple of love for Telmo, well, the idea of selling or eating, actually eating, not selling, but eating Bola de Billing on the Caparica beach there, which is an amazing place in itself. And there's a great backstory, of course, with the Bola de Billing. Okay, so let's move on to talking about Braga. I'm glad I didn't play this while Stephen was here, a professional video maker. But I've made another one of my shorts, this one about Braga, and then we'll talk. Well, actually, I think we need to take it a bit easy this morning. We'll come back to your comments and your hellos in the stream there, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for being so giving of yourselves every morning of the week. I really appreciate it, and we'll come back to some of your comments in a moment after we've given this my latest short a bit of a spin here. Thank you for your Pete, thank you for your executive production whilst all of that was going on. So see what you think of this, folks. Carl Munson here from Expats Portugal, and this is number 17 of 1,000 things to enjoy in Portugal. Braga is both a Portuguese city, the country's third largest, and a district, which can be found in the northwest, an hour from Porto, and around 3.5 hours from the capital Lisbon. A major gateway into northern Portugal, Braga's notable tourist attractions include, among its breathtaking collection of Baroque churches, the stunning Bom Jesus do Monte and the Zay Cathedral. Sporting Club de Braga's architecturally brilliant football stadium, carved out of Monte Castro Hill, overlooks this wonderful city, where an annual Roman reenactment takes the population back to its ancient past. It's worth noting too that the district of Braga brought the legendary and iconic cockerel, the Rooster of Barcelos, to world attention, now the star of millions of Portuguese souvenirs. There you go. That's number 17, Braga. Braga. I think I put too long a vowel on that. Braga might be the better way of saying it, the correct way of saying it. And already, look, Josh and Kaylee may well be watching over breakfast. We've been to that stadium. It's something else. Yeah, I couldn't get a decent picture of it that summed it up, and it makes it look like the Bom Jesus, what is it? A sanctuary there is the football stadium. Hopefully, that's not too confusing there. Yeah, talking to Braga, Bom Jesus de Braga is a beautiful religious place and is amazing as well. Yeah, I can't wait to go. And actually, that was the feeling I got. Let's talk about Braga. If you've been, do tell me more. If you haven't, tell me what you're looking forward to, and I will do my best to whet your appetite to head north in Portugal this morning, because that was the feeling I got. It's like, oh my goodness, this is another distinctly different, in one sense, part of Portugal. But again, it has that beautiful Portuguese-ness about it as well. So really looking forward to going there. We will talk through... oh, my sound's gone all funny. That's weird. Fiddling about in the studio yesterday. We're planning a rejig here in the studio. And so we were doing a little bit of testing yesterday with Mrs. M, and I think I might mess things up a little bit. I hope it's sounding okay for you. But yeah, I'm thinking, got to get back on the road soon. Got to get back up to the north. Well, back up to. I've only been through Gires when we drove through originally. And I only spent a couple of days in Porto. Really got to get up to Porto. Got to get up to Braga, Guimarães, and go check out the north. The Minho region. But we'll take a little bit of a tour around a travel wiki. Unfamiliar territory to me, but I was delighted to find in this kind of Wikipedia tradition there is also a wiki voyage, I think it's called. So we will take a look at Braga in that way after we've had a look at a few of your comments here. Peggy Luttrell, we plan to live there and spent a week looking at houses in the city of archbishops there, which is known as. just loved it. So that's going to be interesting tonight. That may well come into the Rumble in the Jungle, folks. It's the big fight tonight. Which is the best place to live in Portugal? Will it be the Algarve, as presented by the Algarvenator, Peggy Luttrell, who's with us this morning? Already training, already getting ready, putting a few jabs in in the comments there. But so she loved the north, but ended up in the Algarve. We may well find out tonight. Versus mystery Central Portugal proponent in the red. Are they going to be in the red corner or the blue corner? What do we think? Should Algarve be red or blue, I wonder? What's your immediate thought about that, just to fan the flames of controversy already this morning? Bon dia alegria from Fiona. Good morning to you, Fiona. Thank you for your contributions in our gardening program and our Happy Homesteaders and Get Out and Grow pages. Really appreciate that. Druba's here, our friend from Nepal, who's in Sintra now with his family. Bon dia todos from Sintra's farming family. Good morning to all. Lots of love to you all over there, Druba. Love the intro. Not sure why, but I have a hunch it is the bells. The bells. Use the filler video, says Pete, and I did. That was great, Pete. Thank you very much for that. It's so reassuring to know that I have these things at my disposal, but even more reassuring to know that you're there prompting me to use them. Mark Rigby. So here's a northerner. When it comes to Portugal. Bon dia from Povo de Vagim. Sun just popped through the heavy cloud. Yeah, I'm hoping that's going to happen here, because I was laughing yesterday about, how the weather is often predicted incorrectly, but as it turns out, the rain did come yesterday, and very conveniently, very thoughtfully, it just rained in the night. We had a lovely day down in the Walnut Grove, playing on the swings yesterday afternoon with the kids. The swings that I'd made, out of old offcuts of wood, those bits of wood I've been keeping for 20 years or whatever, and offcuts of rope as well. And there are 3 swings down there for the 3 kids, and it was fantastic to get some Portuguese sun on our backs yesterday. Delightful. And then it rained in the evening, which is great. Well, actually, really late, just rained through the night, didn't it? Bon dia alegria de Nottingham. It's a sudden twist of cultures during that sentence. Good morning to you, Michelle. How are you? Marcos Valbon is here. Tenham todos excelente dia. And Marcos, I was in Lidl again last night, and the Caixa Dois thing that comes up, estimados clientes, I thought I'd nailed it. I thought I'd sort of deciphered it and was reading it. If you could run that past us again, that would be so cool. It's the thing that everybody's heard in Lidl. It's that merciful moment when there's 10 people in the queue. Then one of the Caixa Dois, Caixa Três, Caixa Quatro opens up, but it's the phrase that's said that I can't unpick in my head. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Catherine Nichols, bon dia, happy Thursday. Indeed, happy Thursday. Wine Club tonight, of course, out of reaching distance. But Toriga Nacional from Ermelinda is our tasting sensation tonight, led by Gary Austin. And a bit of a big cheese from the companies joining us tonight with a bit of an intro. We are really going to new heights with the Wine Club. And I've actually rebranded it a little bit, a food and wine club, based on the absolute rip-roaring success of Frank Devane, who joined me on Monday talking about Portuguese food. Why didn't we talk about Portuguese food before? I guess we did, but we didn't have a regular slot. So prompted by that, I've opened up the Wine Club just as an experiment, maybe for a month to see how it goes. But it's now the Good Morning Portugal Food and Wine Club, which you can find on Facebook, and a way of chatting with each other about food and wine, and having a great time tasting wine, which we'll be doing tonight at 9:00 with Gary and somebody pretty important from the Ermelinda wine producing empire of Setúbal in Portugal. Bon dia from Joel up there in Porto. Good morning. I wonder what Joel thought of my Braga video there. Hola, bon dia, alegria de Leiria from Andy the Doc, who will be a regular soon. I know I keep talking about it, and we've yet to sign it into. We've yet to make it a holy part of the show and our productions here, but we will do that and have the Doc on a regular basis, because his trip to the UK and back was an amazing story to tell, but also because he's the Doc, it'll be really great to have him on the show. He much loved comments and content that he brings to the show. So looking forward to having the Doc in a regular slot here. Greetings from Harrogate or Arrogate. Blimey, the sun's shining. Best get out the sun cream, says Paul, who might sometimes be in the Algarve, and I think he'll be rooting for Peggy tonight, and has sent me the most beautiful video of the Algarve as well, which I will play probably on a Places and Spaces Thursday as well. And we'll get Paul on to talk about it, so I won't just play his video, we'll talk to him. He's a very, very interesting man, with an amazing past and a massive love for Portugal. So looking forward to having you on the show, Paul, at some stage. Carl, you're clear, but Stephen is a bit blurry and pixelated. It's like a digital hangover, wasn't it? But must be from living in the city. Yeah, the strain on broadband, Wi-Fi, etc. in the cities must be really big. They must be under a lot of strain at the moment in the cities with everybody working from home. But we got there in the end, which is great. Talking to Stephen there of People of Lisbon. Raining here after a couple of lovely days, says Andy. So the weather prediction was right. But we'll see, won't we, for the rest of the week. Might have a quick look at the weather before we go today. Good morning. I've been following Stephen's videos on Facebook for some time. Really worth a look. Bon dia, Carl and Stephen. Prosecco Peggy in the house. And yeah, the story of Balcony TV, that is fascinating, isn't it? Making 20,000 shows over 12 years. Incredible. Bon dia alegria, Stephen Tens Frio. Yes, it's a strange habit among some young men, isn't it, to be wearing the old beanie hat indoors. Would have got a clout round back of the head if my grandfather had seen me wearing a hat indoors. He used to have to go to bed before we got up, etc. So I had to get up before we went to sleep. Bon dia alegria from a cloudy Cabanas de Tavira, researching where to visit when we have the opportunity. So yeah, stay tuned to find out a bit more about Braga. And your comments if you've been there, please. Peggy, let us know what you thought of Braga. Hola, bon dia, Carl and Lisbon. I love the sound of Balcony TV behind the curve here, though. Yeah, Penny, yeah, I think you got most of the conversation there. And yeah, what a lovely idea to do gigs from the balcony. And it's a bit like NPR's, is it called The Tiny Room, where they have fabulous bands. I mean, some of the biggest names ever from the world of music doing a little gig from one of their what looks like a production room of NPR. They're worth looking up. I think it's called The Tiny Room. NPR, the Broadcasting Corporation of the United States. Bon dia, Dona Graça is here, everybody. Bon dia to you, Graça. Tudo bem? Simple, clear, 3 or less word titles and slogans stick in people's minds. Studies have shown. There's one there. Studies have shown. And that is a phrase that sticks in everybody's mind, isn't it? Thanks, Hank. Hey, Paul's here. Why are you dressed like a burglar? That was a question I forgot or didn't ask, didn't choose to ask. Thank you, Paul, for that. There we go. And if you want to find out more, the YouTube channel is People of Lisbon. I'm sure he would be grateful of all the subscriptions, as I am as well, on Expats Portugal. Did you know we got over 3,600 subscribers now for Expats Portugal? It's a delight to see that going up. We've done over 500 videos now. That and over 500 podcast episodes as well. Shout out to you. I haven't given any love to the podcast people. They are a kind of introverted, quiet bunch. This is for you right now, you podcast folks. I know I don't give you enough attention. You're like the elder children of the family. All the attention's going to the noisy ones that are right in front of you, demanding your attention. I don't mean that badly, everybody who's here this morning, but take it as a compliment that you have my full and loving attention. And then there's the podcast people who listen later and just in audio, thinking, my younger siblings, they get all the love. This is some special love for you, podcast listeners. I think maybe I should do 1 or 2 special podcast exclusives for you. Let me know. I every now and then I say to the podcast listeners, I know you get a bit overlooked. Email me, carl@expatsportugal.com. Tell me what you want to hear, and tell me how it could be a better experience for you. It is a little bit of a different experience, I'll put it like that, over on the podcast. So I haven't forgotten you, and I do love you. It's just that the live stream is just a very different experience, isn't it? And gets all the focus of the attention. So there you go, podcast listeners. Over 500 episodes there. Amazing what's happened in this last year. Bon dia alegria from Donna. Good morning to you, Donna. How are you? And there's a what's that about? Is that about the video? What's that about there, Joel? What was your straight unsmiling face there in that emoji? Cool, we'll check it out. Bon dia de Lisboa from Ana da Silva. Bola de Berlin, yeah, gets a special shout out. Who doesn't love a Bola de Berlin? I think Gary Austin is a bit partial. And you can imagine, can't you? You sat on the Costa de Caparica, south of the river there, all those lovely beaches on the south of the river in Lisbon. Whilst we are talking about places and spaces of Portugal, you got to check it out right from Costa de Caparica, which is a little bit on the kiss me quick side, and then make your way all the way down that coast, and you end up. I think there's are there a couple of nudist beaches along there? But Fonte de Telha at the end, you can get. I think it's the 127 bus that I used to get from Lisbon town. It'll take you down that beautiful road, which connects to all the beach car parks, and in the end, the bus stops at Fonte de Telha. It's so lovely down there. It really is. Bon dia. Oh, hold on, Helen, I can't overlook that comment. Bon dia, beautiful people in the Portuguese lighthouse. There we go. We're being called the Portuguese lighthouse. Hi to you, Helen, in Thailand, I believe. How are you? Lovely to have your company. Bon dia, enormous listening world. I was going to say that this morning. It is. I mean, you can literally say hello world here, can't you? On the Good Morning Portugal show, reaching out Australia, America, Thailand, Wales, Harrogate. You know, it's amazing. So there, Gary is saying, bon dia, enormous listening world. Rizal is here as well. The Furtados tuned in from San Martino de Porto, where it all began for me. Special love for San Martino de Porto. How are you two this morning? Gentle reminder to leave a thumbs up. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate that. Mark over there in Australia, doing all he can to help us boost our algorithms, get a bit of action in the algorithm department. Some thumbs for Stephen there. And some congratulations on the project from Jeff. Good morning to you, Jeff. Pete makes a very interesting comment. Bon dia, do you not think that you can run the danger of photographing everything and seeing nothing? We always used to laugh at Japanese tourists for taking pictures of historic fire extinguishers. Pete, there is that danger. And that, I mean, that was the point I was making with Stephen there is, and you know, the little bit of a giggle about, you know, the young digital nomads, the digital marketers, the life coaches, and the yoga. No, you know, no disrespect to anybody. Obviously, that's not how we roll here. But those people are especially good at self-promotion, aren't they? I've been there and done that. And so that means that the people who, this is the point he was making, right? That the ones who don't want to be on your show can often be the ones that are most interesting, that you have to track down. And we have a few of those here. You know, the people are a bit reluctant to come on. It was all I could do to get fake Toshi on in many ways. And I made the conditions right so that we could have that fascinating conversation about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and the blockchain a couple of days ago. So, thank you for that, Pete. And can you imagine people going home and doing a slideshow, and there's this, you know, ancient fire extinguisher that's being shared with the rest of the family. Coffee shops without coffee sounds like Amsterdam. Oh, I see. Not like that. Not like that, Touring. You can have anything but coffee in here, literally, probably, in Amsterdam. You know, it's just one of these strange and cruel twists of these times. Yeah, I mean, you can do a takeaway, of course, in the cafes of Lisbon, but they can't do you a takeaway coffee. And anyway, I mean, in some ways, that's a terrible tragedy, obviously, terrible for those businesses. But it says something really great about the Portuguese appreciation of coffee, doesn't it? It's like, you know, go into the cafe. This is what you could do, what you can't do now, but hopefully we'll be able to do soon. And actually, yeah, I'll take a look at a kind of virtual eavesdrop on what President Marcelo has been saying to Prime Minister Costa, to get a sense of what their conversation might have been like, to see how close we might be to the lockdown liftoff here. We should start, as soon as we know, we're going to start counting down here, right? And then we're going to plan some crazy get-togethers in reality. But the great thing about coffee in Portugal, it's Places and Spaces Thursdays, guys, here on Good Morning Portugal. You know, we're talking about Portuguese culture. This is a fantastic part of it. Not coffee to go in Portugal. Drink your coffee in the shop. And you don't have to stick around. You don't have to be nursing a coffee. Like, you know, when I think people in England, you know, my native, that's what I mentioned it because that's where I'm from. But when you've paid £6.50 for a Starbucks coffee in a bucket and had your name shouted out and, you know, you're tuned into the Wi-Fi there, you're probably going to want to stay for an hour to feel like you've got your money's worth. And here in Portugal, it's very different. Great coffee. Somebody said it's not the best coffee in the world, but it's the best standard of coffee in the world. And I completely agree with it. I mean, to me, it's as good as any coffee anywhere, for my taste. But it's consistently good, pretty much wherever you go. Unless people use those little pellet machines. But any cafe that's got a proper coffee machine, you go in, you pay whatever it is, your 80 cents or 90 cents or 60 or 70 cents, and you stand there for a moment at the bar. That's a wonderful experience. No coffee to go here. Okay, giving of ourselves. Thank you, Doreen. Says Hank. I'm here taking good energy from all our friends here to finish off my night. Thanks to everyone. That sounds a bit... Mrs. Hank. We've been to that stadium. Yeah, that's the Braga stadium. So let's turn our attention to Braga, shall we? And there's lots of love for Braga already. Bon dia alegria, my friend, from Ernest. Hey, good morning to you, Ernest. We're having some fun, aren't we, at the moment? Bon dia from Texas. Let T speak is here from Texas. Well, How are you, and how are things over there? I saw the most. I really haven't been watching a lot of mainstream news. I'll be honest with you. I've been listening to a baby boomer radio station, listening to wonderful music, and my consumption of global news has gone way down. Not on the telly, not on the radio. Just been listening to lovely music on a new baby boomer radio station from the UK, which is fantastic. But I have seen the occasional picture from Texas, and lots of love to you. How is it going for you? This I saw like icicles hanging down inside people's houses where the pipes had burst and it's just hanging down there. How on earth could that have happened? Hope you're okay. Let T speak. We plan to live there. So this is Peggy's journey. Nearly ended in as far as somewhere to live in the north of Portugal, but then she discovered the Algarve, and we're going to find out about that tonight. Cue Rocky training montage. We can see it, can't we? Pete, can we knock that up quickly? Prosecco Peggy, do it with the Rocky music in the background. Pete to Expats everywhere. I hope you guys are enjoying your new place. Thanks for your great content. I think they had a pretty good video on there recently, didn't they? On their Expat Everywhere channel, that's had a few thousand views. So great to be chatting with Josh. I really enjoyed that experience. Thanks again, Josh and Kaylee, for that. Blue, there we go, in the blue corner. So yes, you could have the sort of red sunsets for the red corner of central Portugal tonight, and blue for our beautiful blue skies. That's a possibility, Peggy. Born dear from Chicago, from Adam. Adam Insomnia is here. And then we know why now as well. Josh, thanks, mate. We're enjoying it all right, but likely moving to something for a bit longer. This place doesn't have doors. So with the dog and the baby, it's tough. A flat with no doors. Is that a bit of a thing there? Is that open plan, I guess, isn't it? It would be another way of describing no doors, but maybe there's another reason. Bon dia from Paul and Louise. Roasted chorizo and best salad ever in Braga. Here we go. Bit of Braga intel coming in a very small cafe just outside the Zay. The Zay being the notable cathedral that you saw briefly in the video there. Also, great old pasteleria at the end of the street behind the Zay. Can see Roman ruins under glass. Fantastic. And of course, yes, as I mentioned, they have their annual Roman festival there where people seem to dress up as Romans and ask the question, what have the Romans ever done for us? And pretty much, created a fabulous part of the history of the city, which is celebrated annually. So Zay there, this is something you should probably know about Portugal. And I hope I'm right in this instance. And our Portuguese friends here will tell me if I am or I'm not. But Zay is short for José. People called José, in the long form, it gets shortened to Zay. And I'm guessing that's what's happening with the Zay Cathedral there. It's been shortened from José. Let me know if that is the case. Bring on the cheese. Oh, Andrea, what do you mean? Is that in our celebration of Portuguese food, or is that a special reference to Braga? Does it have a particular kind of cheese that we should be talking about this morning? And I'm going to get up the cheat sheet in a moment and go through that with you. The Wikipedia style travel information or tourist information for Braga city information, but not until we've spoken a little bit more. Good morning, Carl. Sometimes people do not get enough credit for what they do, but I think the radio service you do is wonderful, informative, funny, and helpful to many. Well done, has to be said to you. Oh, bless your heart, Debbie. And right back at you, obviously, with the wonderful service that you're providing as well. So thank you for that, Debbie. Appreciate it. What a star Frank is. I'm going to ask for his autograph. Yeah, well, let's get him at this stage in his career when he's still talking to us, obviously. I think if we talked to Stephen about meeting some celebs, he would have told us it's not all, it's not all what it looks like. And some of them can be a bit eggy and iffy and a bit odd sometimes, and that could be what happens with Frank. We've got him at a good part of his career here, I think, with his trajectory, his upward meteoric rise in the food world of Portugal. Let's treasure that while we can until we have to speak to intermediaries. Yes, and we can get some signed photos, I think. That's befitting an old school, talking of, baby boomer radio stations. Perhaps we can do a range of man cave signed photographs. Hey, what happened with the calendar we were going to do? We were going to do a wine club calendar, weren't we? With just the parts of our anatomy that can't be published or shared, hidden with strategically placed bottles of wine or bunches of grapes. I won't make the obvious jokes. I might actually, but not just yet. Hi, Carl. Sent you a message on WhatsApp and Signal. All the bases covered there. Fantastic. One that the security services can read, the other which they can't. Brilliant, Doc. Yes, let us get Comrade Andy on for certain. Good content, Andy. Yeah, we will. We'll sort that out. Don't worry, folks. And of course, tomorrow we have. We're continuing with our inner child journey because we opened up several emotional and therapeutic cans of worms last Friday. We will continue tomorrow with Jenny. Question: do we need a link to see Peggy champion the Algarve? You do, Paul, and I've done what I can behind the scenes to make that happen for you, because you're a bit of a second in the corner of Peggy, aren't you? You do need to be. You get priority treatment in this class system of expatsportugal.com. It's how we put food on the table, basically. Partly is through our membership, and the premium members do get a bit of a perk of being put forward to the front of the queue on the webinars that we do on a Thursday night. So you do need to RSVP. You can't just rock up like you can with this one. Josh, so sorry to hear that. You are always so positive and such a great attitude. Sure, karma will give you some great luck. I would second that. Absolutely. Bon dia from Jersey, from Lisa. Good morning to you, Jersey being Lisa. I don't know that. Oh, you didn't know I had a podcast. Handy for listening when you have no Wi-Fi, as they automatically download. I got booted off Spotify because I did a couple with music on and they weren't happy about it. It's not as if they don't make enough money already. But yeah, if you look for Expats Portugal podcast, you can get it from most of the big podcast download platforms. It's this show, just the audio, which can be annoying sometimes, I'm sure, when we're looking at photographs. When looking for a place to live in central Portugal, a man once said to me, "You'll always be welcome. Come join us in our vineyards, olive groves, and fields. Come eat and drink with us in adegas, tascas, and cafes. We need to keep central Portugal alive. Say no more." Absolutely, Gary. I'm with you on that, mate. And I can't wait to be an unofficial ambassador in that. Well, I think I already am in that regard. There is an issue, isn't there? Central Portugal will feel the pandemic effect more harshly, possibly, than some other parts, than the big cities of Portugal. So we really do need to do a lot of work and a lot of ambassadorial work, sharing the love, talking about all parts of Portugal, so that they don't get overlooked, and so that people can survive in their little businesses around this wonderful country. Hugo Cohen's here. Bon dia from Israel. Good morning to you, Hugo. A new name, I think. Hey, Portugal, pay your nurses. Yes, okay. Point taken. Should I be speaking to the president or prime minister? I'll pass that on, Hank. Sup, Carl? Legend maybe is here. Bon dia from UK. Long live the fish and chips, or fish and ships. A naval reference and a culinary reference there in one. Legend maybe. You're most welcome. Great to have you here. Braga, we love Bon Jesus. You saw some wonderful pictures of it there. It's just so massive and breathtaking, both from the top and the bottom. The incredible statues with such detail is a must-see. Also, the Mosteiro de Tibais. Yes, important. Mosteiro de Tibais. It's all about, in the city of archbishops, the wonderful Baroque architecture, isn't it? And the religious buildings. But an amazing vibe as well, which has given it this European Destination Award for 2021. Peggy also says the Arco de Porta Novo was draped in colourful cloth for Easter when we were there. That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Ooh, what's the boomer radio station called? Guess what? It's called Boom. It's Penny. You're going to love it. I promise you. A great feeling of community and celebration. That's up there in Braga. And, of course, this Good Morning Portugal show, I'd like to think. Thanks for asking. Better now that the... better now. I think that's a bit missing there. But I thought I'd join and get, says Let T Speak. So glad to hear, anyway. That things are improving for you there in Texas. Cheese in the wine club. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Andrea. Would you like to be our cheese monitor? Please. It's a community group. It's not. We don't see ourselves as the arbiters or determiners of good taste and knowledge. All are welcome. The best things to me are the things that people have discovered here for themselves and then share about it. So, yeah, do join us in the Food and Wine Club community over there on Facebook. And, of course, on our Expats Portugal forum as well. A great place to share recipes, actually. On the square at night, the families come out and kids are playing in the fountain and running around. It's fantastic. Continuing to sing the praises of Braga there. I love and miss all this. Cannot wait to go back, says Maxine. you're not the only one, Maxine. We are really feeling the urge to be out and about, aren't we? Let's finish with that article where we're eavesdropping virtually on the president and the prime minister. Wait, what? Says Joel, not sure what about. Algarve versus Central Portugal. Here is the link to RSVP for tonight's event for Paul and anyone that would like to come. There you go. That's fantastic. One of my colleagues in the comments there. Any problems, drop me an email. See you tonight. Sally, part of our team, fairly new member of our team and making a fantastic impression, as you can see there. Sally at expatsportugal.com. Also, a Lisbon-based Ask Our Experts. You can hire Sally and talk to her about moving to and living in Lisbon as well on the Ask Our Expats tab on expatsportugal.com. Calendar of what? Calendar of events, did I say? I'm not sure what stirred you there, Joel. The calendar. The naked calendar. Calm down, man. But you can be in it. Don't worry, because we have that picture of you, don't we? That picture of you from the 80s, I think, reclining in all your splendor, surrounded by sheepskin rugs and so on. It's that sort of thing, Joel. Nothing to worry about. Thanks for asking. I feel better now that the boil notice is over. Can't sleep, so joining for a bit of happiness. Okay, got you. The boil notice. I mean, who would have seen that coming? Dreadful. Paul is my wingman, says Peggy. They mean business, don't they? Those Algarvians, the Algarvinator there, and her seconds in the corner there. Your July, didn't you know, Joel? Exactly. Why doesn't Joel know? Did he not get the memo about him needing to tone himself up and getting his bikini bod ready for the photo shoot? I don't know what happened there, Joel. Sorry about that, mate. Carl, you must not show bias for Central Portugal when there is going to be a vote. I will not. You know me, I love both parts equally. I will not show any favor at all because I fear getting a punch in the face if I do. I do, Peggy. How walkable is Braga? Says Adam Insomnia. Peggy, can you answer that? Is there any public transport? Yeah, we'll touch on that in just a moment. It's already 10 o'clock though. Expat Portugal. No. I think Joel is not too happy about that idea. Are you sure Peggy is promoting the Algarve? Seems to be Braga a lot. There's a bit of psyching out going on just before the fight. Yeah, come on, Peggy. What is it? Is it Braga or is it the Algarve? And thanks to Sally from Paul there. Thanks, Sally, for doing that. My vote will be Porto Caralho. Is that rudeness that he's uttering there? I wonder. I may with my fur muff and peonies. How do you say peonies on a live radio show successfully? I think I got away with it there, didn't I? But I'm not going to read that again, Penny. We're just going to leave that hanging there, so to speak. Right, Braga. Let's have a very quick look now because it's nearly 10 o'clock. We're going to share a very interesting site. I think I knew about this. Wiki Voyage. Do you know about Wiki Voyage? I didn't, and it's being a bit reluctant, as these things often are. There we go. This should work this time. Travel guide at Wiki Voyage, right? It's the wiki. You can see it's looking a bit wiki-ish there. If I bring it onto the screen for you so that you can see it. And we'll have a little bit of a talk through. You've got your Lonely Planets, you've got your municipal tourism guides, but this is in the spirit of Wiki. This is people contributing for the love of being as part of a community and singing the praises about something. So here we go. Braga is one of the 5 largest cities of Portugal, situated in the Minho region in the north of the country. It is known for its abundance of churches and thus called the City of Archbishops. Apart from its rich and long ecclesiastical history and numerous churches, the city also boasts beautiful views from the hills surrounding it. And we saw some of those, didn't we, in the video? Incredible. A sizable old town full of historic buildings, excuse me, and a heritage. I know what I forgot this morning. The port, the little glass of port, worked a treat yesterday, full of historic buildings and a heritage dating back to Roman times when it was known as Bracara Augusta. You never know when you might need that in a pub quiz. So Bracara Augusta is Braga's old name. Braga is also the seat of the University of Minho, Universidade do Minho, with a medium-sized campus area with lots of bars and cheap restaurants around it. And I do like that about a city that's got a university. There's always a good vibe, isn't there? A cosmopolitan vibe. And then, of course, cafes catering for the students, which are often very good value. Apart from the student life, the university also brought about numerous technological ventures that turned Braga into Portugal's Silicon Valley. I did not know that. That's interesting. So easiest way to go to Braga, this is if you're flying from out of the country, of course, is by plane. Porto Airport, OPO. Is its call sign, isn't it? Once you get to Porto Airport, you can catch the following transport to Braga: train or metro, bus or transfer, or a taxi. A 40-minute journey for 60 euros, but only 5 euros on the metro there. The great train connections with Braga. Major terminus railway station, it says here at wikivoyage.org. All about Braga here, with an impressive new high-rise building erected back in 2004, contrasting. This is the station, the small historic station, which sits alongside, a bit like Aveiro, actually. Aveiro. You can see the old station alongside the new modern station, which is wonderful. It alternates with Guimarães as the northernmost terminus of the Alpha Pendular high-speed and intercitydade long-distance trains, although not all trains reach either city, so you have to choose wisely there. But what a journey that would be. You can imagine from the Algarve up to Braga, seeing all of the wonderful Portuguese countryside. I think that journey, what would that journey take? About 6 hours, I think. So yeah, an hour from Porto, 3.5 from Lisbon is Braga. Let's scroll down a bit further. Lots of highways going to Braga from Guimarães, Porto, Felgueiras, Chaves, and others. If you're coming from the south of Portugal, no difficulty at all. The Portuguese highways are all very well connected. As you'll know, if you've driven here, you only have to go straight to Porto, and then from Porto, the A3. Now, the thing about driving around in Portugal, I would say, is that you can go on the A roads and you can pay the tolls and you'll be there very quickly and you'll have the road to yourself for quite a lot of the time. But there's always an old road, which you scratch the surface, find the old road like the Route 66 or the IC2. Those sorts of roads are very interesting. They won't be as fast and there'll be lots of roundabouts, but there'll be lots of visual interest and cafes to stop at that the truckers go to. So either way, it's well connected with the Rede Expressos, the Portuguese coach system. And says here, public transportation within Braga is provided by Transportes Urbaninos de Braga, and which is the local bus station. 3 zones, and the Bom Jesus are in the outlying zones. But they're a 3-zone system for sorting out fares. So it sounds like that's fairly straightforward. Just pay one of 3 charges there. And these are the places to go, right? I mean, some of them have been mentioned before. The arch there, the Arco de Porta Nova, Braga Cathedral, which is the cathedral that we mentioned before, the Arcada, the main square, one of the main squares. This, I think, would be worth seeing, right? Check this out. Number 4 here in the must-sees on wikivoyage.org, all about Braga. Alvorada da Vida, the Capela do Seminário Conciliar de Braga. This is a 20 tons of unadorned wood with not a single nail or metal fitting. That's going to be a work of a carpentry beauty, isn't it? I really want to see that. The Tree of Life Chapel. There you go. And of course, the Santuário do Bom Jesus de Monge, a hilltop sanctuary with beautiful gardens, architecture, and views over Braga, perhaps the city's most known tourist attraction. And of course, a World Heritage Site, as it should be. The Baroque church sits atop a monumental staircase. And for those who'd rather not walk up it, there is a funicular. How fantastic is that? A historic funicular-powered lift. Well, not really. It's a little. Looks like a tram, doesn't it? That goes up and down in a funicular fashion. Cultural venues: the Teatro Cerco, built in the early 20th century to host the growing performing arts community and accommodate the needs of the local population. So the theatre there. The festivities to include and maybe choose the right weeks to go. Semana Santa is Holy Week, the week before Easter. São João festivities in honor of Braga's saint. São João, and the Braga Romana, the Roman festival that I mentioned before, a cultural fair around the streets of the city centre where people dress like ancient Romans and sell art. Bigger stickers might be there, of course, and other souvenirs in tents. We could do that, couldn't we? Man Cave could go and act out parts of Monty Python. That would be a lot of fun to have a little Monty Python fringe festival as part of that Roman festival there in Braga. Watch football, obviously, at that incredible stadium. Lots of cheap restaurants around the city, particularly around the university campus on the eastern part of town. And there's a few recommendations here. I need to put this little guide in the comments, don't I? Nightlife. It has everything, doesn't it? Let's face it, it has everything. Although, actually, it says nightlife in Braga may be quite monotonous sometimes. I mean, isn't that nightlife for you? You know, drink, dance, hangover. That is monotonous, but it's a fun part of some of our lives for some part of our lives. Clubs in town are open only on weekends and Wednesdays since it is academic night, and most students go on having a drink and end the night in one of the local clubs. What are they like? But not at the moment. There are lots of small bars around the historic city centre. Most of them are well hidden on the tight streets. There you go. That's where we need to go looking. When me and Frank and Gary go up there, the tight streets, Joel hopefully will join us and we'll find ourselves a nice little francesina in one of the tight streets there, which is something to eat, I should add. You will only find them with the help of locals. Yes, that's the sort of place we want to go to. It is not advised to walk around the city centre at night by yourself. Really? It may look safe and very crowded during the day, but it's quite abandoned and very, very dark during the night, as most people prefer to go into the bars. Okay, so just normal sort of safety in the dark of night there, nothing particularly to worry about. So just exercise the usual cautions, I would say. Sounds like it's written by someone who comes from a very terrifying part of the world. But yeah, a good point and one to be borne in mind. So there you go. That is Braga. Let's go back to, shall we? Or not back to, but back to my mention of the conversation between the president and prime minister. Let's have a look at what your comments are before I do that. Go, Peggy Littrell. Look, come on. I want a fair fight. No gouging, no below the belt business. That's for the calendar, not for the fight tonight. Oh boy, Carl, Portuguese one-on-one, curse words. Yes, I shouldn't have read that out, should I? Joel, you set me right up there, my friend, and I use that term loosely now. I have a lot of love to go around, says Peggy. Braga is great to visit. Every day I want to wake up in the sun and the warmth of the Algarve. There you go. Very well rescued there, Peggy. Braga walking tours from under Arco de Porto Novo in normal times, say Paul and Louise. They love it. Braga is hilly. Bear that in mind, says Joel. Go, Peggy Littrell from Jani in Belgium this morning. Are you leaving Penny's fur muff hanging? It's an outrage. I'm sorry. There's going to be a petition about that, isn't there? A petition, Penny's petition. It's lovely to walk in the main town, but you need transportation to get up the hills to the churches up there. And so what better way than the funicular? Carl, just to be clear, there isn't a subway to Braga from Porto or train, only regional buses. Thank you for that, Joel. Yeah, I think that was really about the airport, wasn't it, rather than... Oh, so not from Porto, only train or regional bus. Thank you for that, for clearing that up, Joel. Much appreciated. We had a car, so I don't know about public transport, says Peggy. I hope I've covered that now. A few years ago, Birmingham City played Braga. It didn't end well. Does it ever, Gary? State roads to Braga from Porto. There you go. So the non-A road, the more interesting road, I would hazard a guess, the EN14. Fantastic. No tolls. And a 1 hour trip or thereabouts. Isn't that fantastic? Thanks, Joel. Really appreciate your input, mate. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. And don't get your funiculars in a twist is the advice from the would-be elder. So I'm not going to call him an elder because I don't want to age him too much, but there is a Yoda-like wisdom that emanates from this man, Garvo Austin and Al Viagra, and there it is today. Don't get your funiculars in a twist. There's a sort of reference. It's a kind of hybrid of a Ken Dodd and a Yoda. A Ken Yoda comment there. Nothing like an aguardent sitting by the fire, Peggy. What's that a reference to? Or is that just more advice? That's more advice from the elder in the making there, Garvo Austin. Right, so very quickly then, don't want to keep you. You got stuff, you got to... No. I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but we're not exactly getting out and about, are we? So it might be okay to just chat on for a little bit longer and keep you here for a moment. And I do have from the Portugal Resident yesterday, 24th of February, President Marcelo meets PM Costa. So let's bring that onto the screen so you can see what I'm talking about and see the... And I'm wondering if I should leave that on the screen there. Nothing like an aguardent sitting by the fire, Peggy, whilst the Marcelo... I wonder if they have a little cheeky aguardent while they're talking about such matters. Let's have a look then. President Marcelo meets PM Costa to learn government's plan for March. What have they saying? Or is this one of those articles that speculates about what they might be saying? Let's find out. With a rising crescendo of voices criticizing the government's apparent reluctance for a roadmap out of lockdown, President Marcelo requested a meeting this evening with Prime Minister Antonio Costa. It's already happened. Is anyone the wiser? According to reports, he wants to understand what the government's plan is to manage the country during the month of March, in which confinement is staying in its current form. So far, as Espresso, the paper suggests, the conviction of the president is that there is a strong pressure within the government, namely in the economy and education, for the country to reopen faster. So the president appears to be putting a bit of pressure on than post-Easter, as initially mooted. The feeling followed declarations by the minister for the presidency, Mariana Vieira da Silva, over the weekend, when she intimated schools would be the first to open, to put the president on alert, says Espresso. In the decree he is sending to Parliament for debate tomorrow, Marcelo maintains the country as confined as it is now, simply altering the preamble of the text, the paper explains. I don't really know what that means, but let's carry on. He wants confirmation from the Prime Minister that pressures that are growing by the day in various sectors of the economy and within the PM's own executive to accelerate the opening of some commerce and schools, and will not lead to any precipitation of the path that has been traced, i.e. the formula driven by experts that the country must stay shut until numbers in hospitals have fallen much further, particularly numbers in intensive care, as we said yesterday, which are still 3 times higher than the level seen as comfortable. Expresso stresses that in the meetings Marcelo had earlier today with political parties, he noted the signs of displeasure. I'm not surprised over the apparent absence of a plan of any kind of plan. This is a lot of the posturing that's going on around in the political world at the moment, right? And formulation for the easing of lockdown measures in April. Just a couple more paras here. His own take on the situation is that schools should stay closed until after Easter, but he feels citizens need signs, yes, that plans are being drawn up, or as he said in his last declaration to the country, people need hope. Without hope, the day-to-day of sacrifice loses all sense. Well said, Mr. President. Marcelo has made it clear that he expects a phased plan for reopening, not just of schools, but the whole economy, says Expresso. With any luck, after today's meeting, this plan will start taking shape. Thank you, Natasha Don, at the Algarve resident, Portugal resident there. I think he's right, don't you? We have been numbers driven. The numbers have got here, so we're going into lockdown. The numbers are like this in the ICU. That's why we need to flatten the curve. Why can't we have numbers to see us out of this? I do think people need a plan, and they need to have the flames of hope, at least embers that can burst into the flames of freedom soon enough. So let's have a look at your last comments before we go. What about an RSVP? I'm confused. Does that mean us normals, Fiona? Imagine that. You're calling anyone normal here in this community. I'm not often in that group. Can't see tonight's sparring. If it's a sellout. There's a thing. This should be like on pay-per-view, shouldn't it? Which it is kind of, but a tiny fee for the premium members. They do get VIP treatment. It's part of our business model. So that the premium members will get RSVP premium priority into the big fight tonight, the Rumble in the Portuguese jungle, and then everybody thereafter. But you do have to RSVP, because then you'll be on a waiting list to come in after the premium members. And anyway, don't worry, because you will be able to watch the replay as well in slow motion. As a No, it's not going to be like that, but you will be able to see the replay. All of our webinars are on our YouTube channel as well. But if you do want to come in and bay for blood tonight, make sure you do RSVP. Let me find out where that is. Or Sally might be. Sally's already done it. Sally's put the link in. So you need to click on that link if you want to be in the crowd tonight. It's going to be fun, isn't it? In Texas. So if you only had one day in Braga, where would you eat? Great question. We may have to return to that. Okay, Joel's. I was thinking, who is this trolling in the comments? And is this aimed at anybody here? No, this is aimed at the president and the prime minister. Not impressed, our resident Portuguese, about the I'm quite hopeful about that conversation, but I have the political age of a 5-year-old, as you know, in Portugal, that is, and probably a 15-year-old in the UK. Fiona, you can make an RSVP on Expats Portugal. I just did. Well done, Gianni, leading the way there. It is the website page. The link is in the comments there, and Sally may well pop it in again. Hank Stalika, yeah, definitely schools need to stay closed, but you have to give people a goal so they feel like they're working towards something and can stay focused. Absolutely, Hank. This interminability, if that's the right word, you know, we've had numbers to guide the behavior into lockdowns, into curbing freedom. Let's have numbers to see our way out, surely. Website, click on webinars and sign in. There you go, says Jenny. Do excuse me, I need a port. I can't believe that. Blues are a busting team, says Adrian there. No, you shared a love for the Blues there. Adrian, great to see you here this morning. Could you please put the link on YouTube? I don't use Facebook. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes, all right. I'm gonna just stick around long enough to do that. This will take a little bit of a while. Talk among yourselves for a moment, and I understand that, and I want to honour that. Some people are averse to Facebook, and why wouldn't you be? Although I have to say, I'm very grateful to Facebook for allowing me to broadcast on your live platform every morning. But it's about time you started paying a little bit to the publishers. I think it's fair to say that as well. Interesting what's been happening in Australia, isn't it? They banned. Was it Australia? Well, they banned the news services, and now they've all made friends again. Isn't that great? So here we go. I'm going to put the link address for the big scrap tonight. Best place to live in Portugal, and hopefully it will come out on all the platforms. There you go. Look, Expats Portugal YouTube. If you're really struggling, I'll read that out for you as well. /event /16706. Okay, so that should help tonight. And this is the final comment on Portuguese politics. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to read that in case he set me up again. Blah blah blah. We get the gist there, Joe. I think a new record. 16 minutes past 10 this morning. Do you remember those times when I said we ought to just do 30 minutes in and out and go and enjoy the rest of our day? It's always over 10 o'clock these days, isn't it? Thank you for your forbearance, your persistence, your patience. And thank you to Mark over there in Australia. Take care, folks. Bye for now. Let's roll the outro. Don't forget that. Here we go. And we'll see you tonight for the big Portuguese Rumble in the Jungle and then the Emelinda Toriga Nacional glass of red wine. I'll be ready for that after the fight. It'll be wine or blood that you'll be able to see on my white shirt tonight.